Hey guys, what's going on? It's Brandon. So I'm currently leaving the Chevrolet store, and I got some really great news. They are replacing the ECU, I believe, because they could see in the codes where there were miscommunications occurring, and those miscommunications have occurred since day one that I've had the car. There were just all kinds of stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, all the cars have the ediff glitch when you go over curbs. This particular car was having an engine glitch that was causing detonation at times, which is well documented, me pulling it into Chevrolet stores. And every time I come in, there's this miscommunication code present, and sometimes there'd be the, crank position sensor relearn procedure is like code red. It needs to be done because the car forgot where the crank position sensor is at, just magically forgets. So, and by the way, I think that's part of the 6.2 engine real problem that they have with the recall. I think that's the key to the whole thing, the smoking gun mystery, if you will, the mystery. But no one's explained that yet. So this channel is really advanced. If you stop and think about it, I predicted back in 2020 and 2021 that the ediff glitches would prevent General Motors from setting a good ring time because they can't go over the curbs without spinning the cars. And so when you're in race 2 ESC off, everything else is off. The only program that remains on is the ediff program. Now we know that manual mechanical diff 911s, so manual transmission mechanical diff 911s can go over the curbs at the ring like a bat out of hell, like go up on 2 wheels, go airborne. And Jim Miro used to do the same thing with the C7 Z06 and Z01. He'd really go up over curbs and really hammer that thing. When you're in a 50-50 weight distribution car where the ediff is not programmed to save the car from old school Porsche spinning off the road with the rear end first, it doesn't matter if the ediff glitches to 0. Okay, it's not the end of the world. But to those cars' defenses, also those other cars, their ediffs don't glitch to 0 because the computer isn't having to do so much stuff, so much calculation. See, I was the one who originally predicted that GM has overloaded the computers by giving the ediff too much responsibility to save the car. And when you go over the undulations and bumps, the ediff just checks out. That computer module gets overloaded, leaves the chat, has to like reboot, which all happens like in milliseconds. But you get this serial data gateway miscommunication thing that happens between all the modules, and the ediff goes to 0 for a split second. Well, in that split second when it goes to 0, that's when the ass end of the car starts to come around. A guy put up a good comment asking, hey, here's what the car does at 30 miles per hour at Sonoma Raceway. Is this it? I didn't even watch the video, I'm not gonna lie. I'm driving and was in the middle of something. But if the guy's only going 30 miles per hour, an ediff glitch isn't gonna get you. I'm just gonna be real with you. Because the car is allowed to step out below 70 miles per hour. You can drift a C8 ediff car all over the place in race 2 ESC off, and the ediff's not going to interfere that much. Don't get me wrong, it still interferes, but it's not what I'm explaining. But once you get up above 80 miles per hour, the ediff program is completely Jekyll and Hyde, which in my opinion is a lawsuit in itself. It's a whole separate lawsuit. Like a person learns a car below 70 miles per hour, and then they take it out and they go up to 80 miles per hour thinking they got the same car in the turn as they had at 70 miles per hour. The car is completely night and day Jekyll and Hyde, 2 different cars. Once you get up above 80, 90 miles per hour, the ediff locks up tremendously to keep the car from stepping out at all. So if the car is being prevented from stepping out because the ediff's locked up so much at 50, 60, 70, 80 plus %, which I've documented that it does this at high speeds, coming down from high speeds and heavy braking, GM locks that ediff up big time. So let's say you're coming into bumpers and you're on the brakes, that ediff is locked up big time if you're coming down from high speeds. And so what happens is you as a driver have your steering wheel turn a whole bunch to overcome the 80% ediff lockout or the 50% ediff lockout. That's a huge lockout, guys. And by the way, I didn't explain this well in the other videos the other day when I was talking about the ediff. Just because the ediff's only to 50% doesn't mean that it hasn't locked the rear axle, because it's all about how much force is being applied to get the rear axle to unhook from itself. because you got two halves. You got two half shafts. And then those clutches lock. So when the clutch is locked to 50%, that can, in effect, lock your rear axle into a solid rear axle. So what happens is when the clutch is unlocked to 0%, you now go from having a locked rear axle to not a solid rear axle. So the car goes from not wanting to turn to wanting to spin. Okay? So just because we're not at 80% ediff lockout or not at 100% ediff lockout doesn't mean that the rear axle hasn't been locked based on the amount of force that's being applied to it by the road surface. You see what I'm saying? So GM uses those percentages to dictate a quote-unquote tight radius limit of a turn. So by them locking out the ediff to different percentages, they're basically dictating the radius of the turn that the car will turn. Because they know that the front wheels turn to their max are only going to create this much force in the front end of the car. So they've got this big algorithm that they've created where they can dictate the G's of the car. And they can, right around 1.2 lateral G, the ediff really starts getting involved. Now, don't get me wrong, can the cars pull more than 1.2 lateral G? If you're in a banked turn with huge downforce and big wings, yes. But in general, just on flat pavement, when the wings aren't activated a whole bunch, Jim Muro even admits the limit on these cars is right at 1.2 lateral G. On the C7 and the C8, the ediff gets involved. It picks the radius to the car, guys. It gets involved. On the C7, it didn't have such adverse effects because there was more weight on the front end of the car to overrule the ediff's decisions. The front tires had plenty of grip. On the C8, the ediff is given way too much authority. It's like a checks and balances problem. The ediff is given too much control of the car because of the weight of the because of the weight on the rear end of the car. You got 60%, 61% of the weight on the rear of the car. Plus, if you got a big wing out back, now you got even more. Plus, you got those big ass tires, 21 inch by 13 inches wide. I mean, those are huge tires. So they're bossing the car around. They're keeping it straight. So the ediff glitch happens over the bumps, especially over the bumps, and big bumpers can cause it to happen. So we have a GM engineer openly admitting that instead of him S-ing through, okay, when he goes straight and goes over the bumps, he says he's slower. Now, why would that be? Is it because the car has like a force field before you get to the bumps and slows the car down? Or is it because he, the engineer, knows that he's batshit crazy to go across those bumps at even the same speed that he's able to go around them without touching the bumps? I'm going to opt for option B. He knows that the car is going to spin off the road and kill him potentially if he goes over those bumps because, again, the only program that's present is the ediff program. When you're on race 2 ESC off, everything else is off. The ediff program is still there. Porsche, they can't even go around the ring with their Turbo S with 700 horsepower basically. They can't even go around the ring in that car as fast as, it's over 600 horsepower for sure. They can't go around the ring as fast in that car as they do in the little 500 horsepower GT3 manual transmission mechanical diff. Think about that for a second. The mechanical diff 500 horsepower GT3 with the little wing, not active aero, just the regular little wing, goes around the ring faster than the almost 700 horsepower turbo all-wheel drive 911 ediff car. It's because of these curbs. It's because they have to stay away from the curbs or else they're toast. And it's also because the car limits its lateral G's via the ediff program. So GM benchmarked against the Porsche GT2 RS, which of the previous generation, which is an ediff car. They benchmarked against the Ferrari 458, which is an ediff car. They also bought a Ferrari 488, and they said, no, we're going to go back to the 458. All these are ediff cars. Okay, GM Taj Jukter bought the mechanical diff non-Z51 as a retirement gift to himself. He could have bought a Z06. Okay, he could have waited for the Grand Sport. He could have waited for any potential mechanical diff Z06. He knows they're not coming. He knows that General Motors is only going to offer the mechanical diff on the non-Z51 and that is the C8 that he bought. Okay? This is what I have no patience for. I don't like the liars. I don't like the liars who try to play all these fucking weird games where they try to blame it on everything else instead of just say, the ediff cars, the ZR1 and the ZR1X, have a weakness. When you go across the curbs, it causes the computers to glitch. Happens on all ediff cars, Porsches, just name off all the other ones, say it can happen on any of them. And really long story short, guys, without us touching the curbs aggressively, we were able to lap the ring in a very great time that's better than the Porsche Turbo S. So for the same price as a Turbo S, you can go out and buy this car here instead, and it laps the ring faster without touching the curbs. And it's a weakness that exists across the board on all sports cars these days. Instead of them say that, they're lying and saying that I'm the liar. When I want to emphasize this, I want you to listen to me very carefully. I was the one who predicted that they would not be able to cross the curbs at the ring before it was ever even an observed trait. I was telling everybody they cannot do it. Everybody's like, all they have to do is go across the curbs, then they'll go even faster. Back at Stingray days. I'm like, no, they cannot do it. Oliver Gavin is on video admitting that there's a problem with the car and he loses control of the car. I know that the car loses control. I felt it happen many times. The ediff unlocks to zero. They cannot do it, guys. It's not safe to do it. And instead of them explain that, you got all these fucking lying weirdos, Misha included, who are like, if you go across the curbs, you set that the ring time. Okay, Misha, why don't you go fucking do that, comrade? You fucking low IQ piece of shit who won't listen when other people tell you that the car has a weakness. I'm not doubting that he's better at the ring than I am, that he knows the track better than I do, but he doesn't understand the car better than I do. It's the guy with the most miles in C8 Z06s versus the guy with tons of miles at the ring. I know the cars, he knows the track, and he refuses to listen to me when I say that the car has a glitch. He refuses to listen to me when I try to explain that the STO, the reason why they didn't handle right, is because when you mess with the alignments, you knock the rear caster out of alignment. He didn't listen to me that the Performante that he drove had rear toe links added, so the shop that added those, the reason why they add those is so that they can set the rear caster properly, easier, so it's not a 4-hour job and it turns it into a 1-hour job. Instead of him listen to what I'm explaining to him about alignments, he's not learning. And all the GM puppets, instead of saying, guys, Brandon's right, it is what it is. It's the new era that we're in. No one will do it because these guys are so ashamed to admit that I'm right, because they know that the entire fucking Corvette community, from Conti to Justin a Horsepower Obsessed to Clayton Smith to Chet Beige, everybody has shut down my stuff and said, your stuff's too controversial. Why? Because I'm teaching people how to not fucking get killed in the cars? So anyway, I just was telling you that I was leaving the Chevrolet store and they are replacing the computer in the car. So that's good. And so then we can go out and see if that fixes it or not. We can take it out and drive it and see if it's fixed or not. Or see if it's something else triggering the miscommunication. Meaning there's a domino effect of miscommunication within the car. Which from my friend's car, who had to lemon his, I know that that's also a possibility. The ediff can glitch from anything. The engine can glitch, the ECU can glitch from anything. If the infotainment system on these cars is glitching, it causes the engine and the ediff to glitch. Their modules to glitch. So anyway, guys, that's it. These people light me up in the comments that they know more than me, blah, blah, blah. These guys don't know shit. These people saying that I need to take my car to a racetrack, that voids lemon law when you take your car to a racetrack. I am not taking my lemon C8 Z06 to a racetrack. Get it through your fucking heads. All right? See ya.